The rumor is that like this Spider-Man movie is a setup for the Avengers 5 movie, and perhaps Spider-Man is going to kind of be like a pseudo leader of some team in Avengers 5. Now, we don't know what their plans are for Avengers 5. Those seemingly have all changed. We're going to talk about that in a second. So maybe that leaves the Spider-Man movie in a little bit of a limbo. Welcome back to the Break Room. My name is John Costa, and joining me today are Maude Garrett.
Hello, that's me. What? There I am.
Yeah.
That's me.
And all the way from spilling a drink on his shirt, it's Zach Huddleston.
I didn't see that, John.
What happened to letting it
What
go?
happens in Twitch goes into YouTube.
Hey, everybody, I'm off prompter today. John's on prompter.
Whoa.
So anything I mispronounce or misread is just
My
coming
fault.
from my brain.
It's my fault. Coming up, Spider-Man 4 is and all of its rumors, plus how Marvel intends to fix this like Kang Avengers 5 problem. We're gonna get into it. It's like a mini headlines day
That's why I'm
on a
here.
Friday.
Headlines.
I don't even know if that's an official graphic. Who knows? All right, everybody, audience, I need you to put on your rumor caps because everything I'm about to say is still unconfirmed. This is what's kind of going around when we're talking about Spider-Man 4, okay? So, first things first. Again, this is all stuff that's coming out of, like, rumors. It's not reported.
But some of these are rumors coming through legitimate journalistic outlets.
And I'll kind of
Yeah.
tell you which ones those are. This one is a deep rumor. So, the rumor that's going around is that... So we're all familiar with like the way that studios will sometimes like earmark a date in the future.
Yes.
And they'll say like,
They
hey,
have to schedule out their slate.
right, the Avatar films, it felt like they were scheduled
10 years
into
in
the
advance,
future,
yeah.
right? So the studios will kind of like earmark these dates so that no other studios come around and we don't get another Barbenheimer type of situation, right? They're kind of trying to avoid that, although that worked out weirdly for both studios. So I say all that because Sony has an untitled Marvel film, they've specified, slated for June 25th, 2025. We don't know about any Sony movies.
There's no Morbius 2.
We don't know. The Venom 3 is like the one that we know is the furthest away, right?
Now, do they have another date slated for Across the Spider-Verse 3?
We don't have a Beyond the Spider-Verse
Beyond the
date
Spider-Verse.
yet. This date in June is rumored to be the Spider-Man 4 date. So that would put it right in between Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four.
Eventually, I'd love to go on a tangent on
Please,
like people
tangent
that
now.
make an entire film without even having written the script of the sequel that they promised in the movie. I'm looking at Fast and Furious. I'm looking at Into the Spider-Verse. I'm looking at Dune 2.
We have a video coming out on the channel probably next week that is all about the other Spider-Man 4, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4 that never happened. And it's for that kind of same reason, is that Sony put a date on the calendar and Sam Raimi was like, well, if we want to make a good movie, I'm not going to hit that date.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, we'll say goodbye to you.
That stopped Sony.
I know, right? In eras gone by. And then they did the Mark Webb stuff. Okay, so this rumored to be coming out in June. There's some words that like that's the date that Sony really wants. Marvel's not super keen on it. We know that Marvel themselves are releasing 5 movies next year.
25.
4?
4 in
Blade,
2025?
Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts,
Brave New World.
Brave New World. 4. So this would be a 5th that they, and I think like the consensus is like Bob Iger has said, we're slowing down. We're not going to put out all this content. So I don't think that they want to be putting out 5 movies in the MCU
and
in a calendar
live
year.
action Spider-Man are the one Sony property that is still like Marvel still has to work on. Kevin
Right.
Feige is a producer on those
Right.
films.
And we'll get to some interesting Kevin Feige as a producer on those film stuff in a second here. So I guess my question is, you know, if you had to decide, obviously a Spider-Man film coming out next year would be a lot of fun. Could it make that summer date? And then if not, the rumor is that it would get kicked to like a Christmas 2025. And what does that mean for Blade? Blade comes out November 7th or something like that, 2025.
Mom's birthday.
Maud's mom's birthday.
Yeah.
So then the rumor there is that this is what Jeff Schneider was reporting, that like if Spider-Man comes out during Christmas, they'll move Blade further back because
Yeah, that
that
makes
poor movie.
I'm surprised they haven't like just shifted everything at least 6 months with the strikes that we had last year. I mean, I think they were playing catch up with the pandemic and how everything was pushed back then. I think a lot of things have been scrapped. And so if they haven't really started, if they haven't locked in a script, locked in a cast, and are thinking about shooting this film, they won't hit the date.
Yes.
And with all the pushback that we've had already.
I mean, it's just a little over a year. They don't have a script
They don't have
in
a
place.
director.
They don't have a director.
Well, there are rumors that the script is being worked on.
Sure. And I'm sure,
Being
like,
worked on.
I'm sure there are 2,000 outlines that have been bought or that could be fleshed into a CGI-filled script, right? In short order. But, like, are any of them good? Are any of them ready to move? What is the talent attached with it? Also, you know, there's a lot of talent in these films. Tom Holland and Zendaya, like, they have busy schedules.
Absolutely.
Tom Holland probably
But you gotta
prioritizes
think,
Spider-Man
right,
films.
this
but
is their first position. Maybe not Zendaya, but this is, you know.
Jacob Batalon, is he busy?
No,
He had a show.
that's the truth.
A
He's
vampire
not busy.
show?
So the other piece of this puzzle is that it sounds like both parties want this to come out before Avengers 5, which is slated for 2026.
When is that supposed to come out in 2026? Summer?
Right? Yeah,
Right?
summer.
What Avengers are they putting in Avengers 5 again?
We're going to get to that.
Oh, great.
But the rumor is that like this Spider-Man movie is a setup for the Avengers 5 movie, and perhaps Spider-Man is going to kind of be like a pseudo leader of some team in Avengers 5. Now, we don't know what their plans are for Avengers 5. Those seemingly have all changed. We're going to talk about that in a second. So maybe that leaves the Spider-Man movie in a little bit of a limbo, because Daniel Richman was reporting that they haven't decided internally whether they want this to be a multiverse story or a more grounded street level Spider-Man story, right?
What would you want?
We're in the multiverse saga, but the last movie sort of ended with like a promise of doing street level stuff. So yeah, what would you guys
I kind of
want?
want. I've had a lot of multiverse the last couple of years, and the last movie did it great. We also it's a little bit of a clean slate wipe, right? Like,
The TVA?
oh.
Like literally?
Oh yeah, potentially. And you know, people don't
Amazing.
know. We can kind of go back to the like, not an origin story, but like a old school Spider-Man where like people don't know who he is. There's a little bit of hiding my identity action. He can fight some crime.
I mean, we've got this like Kingpin Daredevil section of the MCU that feels like you would fit really well in. I don't know, Maude. What do you think? Would you prefer something more grounded, or are you like, well, I'm on board with the Avengers shit, so let's go?
Well, what I think is really interesting is that it was Civil War where Spider-Man was like truly introduced, like Tom's
Yes.
Spider-Man. So I kind of love that if you have something where he's now leading it, it would make sense with the groundwork we've already had for Avengers 5 to be Young Avengers.
I don't
Yeah,
disagree.
with him being the old Avenger.
Yeah.
In that group.
And it may not be like Young Avengers in the subtitle, but it might just be kind of like that group of newer heroes.
Yep. So it's going to focus on like, wow, all this stuff that's happened, you know, with this city falling and then this Earth is falling and then multiverses are happening. And so you just go, great. Now we've got our Gen Z cleanup crew, you know, and it's like they've all aged out. We've got a new sort of like Marvel super team coming in. And I think, you know, you can have your new Cap in there so that he's, you know, he had his own TV show. But I love the idea of sort of like the mentors introducing the new, like, you know, Justice League has had that as well with Young Justice, Justice League, Young Justice? What is that one called? I like the passing of the baton, and they're kind of like learning. It was animated. They're learning for the first time, where it's like, "Wow, I've got all this power," and then it's like, "Yeah, it comes with great responsibility."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Okay, I guess I've got to like fix shit."
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of that mentorship type of role, another piece from Daniel Richman. Again, this is like in the scoop kind of category, but apparently Amy Pascal, one of the kind of lead producers of all the Spider-Man movies, wants Kevin Feige involved in a future Miles movie.
That would be great.
Live action.
And I
Miles
think,
Morales movie.
right,
Yeah.
and I think that is the best news I've heard coming out of Sony Spider in a very long time.
I love that as well. It's like can we please put all resources into the things that we want and matter? I do wonder though that they cannot put a live action Miles Morales until they've finished Into the Spider-Verse, surely, right? Or would that coincide?
But that could be 2026. You know, if we get a Spider-Verse movie next year, the year after we could maybe have live action Miles Morales.
Absolutely.
I mean, part of this too is Sony is a much smaller studio than Disney or even Universal or Warner Brothers or whatever, right? They only have a few big franchises, and by far, like, their most successful. Yeah, yes, as we all know, Smurfs. But like, and you know, little stuff that often involves Tom Holland, like Uncharted and whatever. Sure. But the Spider-Man, and obviously No Way Home is one of the largest movies of all time. That was by far, I think, the biggest Sony movie ever.
Yep.
The Spider-Verse movies are very successful for them as well. So it's like they don't want to go too many years without a Spider-Man movie. Not only for like them holding onto the rights, but also just their bottom line. It has such a huge impact. So I'm sure that's one reason they're pushing really hard to get this next movie out.
If it doesn't come out in 2025, it'll have been 5 years in between. That movie came out in 2021. If it comes out in 2026, that's 5 years between Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. It's a long time.
That's wild.
Especially considering the first three.
It was the end of 2020. No.
It was
December. End of 2022.
December 2021.
Two.
No.
2. We'll never know. It's impossible for us to figure it out.
What is time? We'll just go into
End
the
of
TVA
2022.
and we'll zap it, prune it, whatever. Okay,
It was the
John
end of
was
2021.
right. John was right.
Time is a flat circle.
John was right.
End the stream.
In the stream.
End the stream.
Hats on backwards now. Bad boy Costa showing up with his dates.
So yeah, I mean, it's a mess, and it sounds like there's fighting going on between the studios.
Or jockeying. I would say jockeying. And there's a history of that, right? The famous story that came out of when they originally made the agreement to share Spider-Man basically involved Amy Pascal throwing a sandwich at Kevin Feige that came out in the Joanna Robinson MCU book.
What was on the sandwich? I just need to visualize.
That's a great question. Rocks?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, what's the worst sandwich to have thrown at you?
Sandwich.
Like a wet sandwich, like a tuna salad?
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty bad.
Egg.
Eric settled on pastrami on rye for his retelling of the events. But that's a thick sandwich, you know?
Yeah, and there are competing, as you mentioned, there are competing agendas here. Sony needs frequent Spider-Man movies. They make so much money, right? Marvel doesn't need it as much. He's an important character to them, right? And like they get, as part of the trade, they get to put Spider-Man in some MCU films. There might be a little bit of a money sharing thing, though Sony keeps most of the money. But they don't want to crowd out their other 4 movies coming out next year. And I think especially, Feige has to be thinking about this. After the last few years with some swings and misses or some things that didn't land with audiences and this kind of whole superhero fatigue thing, you know Marvel has to be focused on quality above all.
Yes.
Right? And like they can't afford to have arguably their most famous character have a movie that is not really good.
Well, and that's why, I mean, you say like Marvel doesn't necessarily need another Spider-Man movie. I mean, the point Marvel is at right now, I feel like that's one of the movies they would want the most. Can you imagine the post-Endgame films without No Way Home and without Far From Home, which came out after Avengers Endgame? Like, now you're looking at like not the best collection of movies ever. I mean, you already sort of are, but I don't know.
Okay, so here's what I think is a good question with what do we want from Marvel more than anything? They have laid down, like, you know, we've set up that there's an Eternals 2, mayhaps. We've set up that the Young Avengers are happening, mayhaps. We've set up that X-Men's going to come on by. We know for a fact that Fantastic Four is going to happen. As Marvel fans, and I ask you, what do we want the most? Like Sony, it's easy. We want live action Miles Morales. It's crystal clear for everyone except the studio. What is it for us as a collective, now that there's so many options, now that we were told it would be Kang Dynasty and it's likely not going to be, what do we want?
Yes. I mean, for me, I want a great movie.
Yeah.
Bar none. Don't care what characters it's built around. Easier said than done. It's really hard to make a great movie, no matter what. I think, like, X-Men sooner rather than later.
Hey, I'm keen for X-Men.
Yeah, you could do Avengers with some kind of like mutant subtitle. I also think that like they could just do Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2, right?
Those are the 2 Avengers movies that are slated. Yeah.
Okay.
Run it back with Infinity War and Endgame, basically.
You know?
Yeah.
So there was a couple other details in this Daniel Richmond report that I want to talk about quickly. One of them is that like the Sony side really wants to bring John Watts back to direct. Now, there had been some rumors a few weeks or months ago that like that was just off the table and he wasn't interested in coming back, blah blah blah. But this reporting says that like Sony wants him back for the Spider-Man movie, but Feige wants him for other things
and wants to move in a new creative direction with the Spider-Man
right,
movies.
Marvel will get him then because Marvel's got more money. And
Though he already bowed out of the Fantastic Four movie, right? That was supposed to be something he.
But he's still in the Disney family. He's doing the Skeleton Crew Star Wars
Absolutely,
show.
absolutely. He's directed a lot of Mandalorian episodes. I'll say, speaking to someone at Marvel, the reports of John Watts like himself feeling superhero fatigue, basically, and being like, "I'm tired. I don't want to make another Spider-Man movie."
He spent the better part of a decade making Spider-Man movies.
Those reports, I've talked to some people at Marvel. 100% true. Not like a cover up for creative differences or we want to move in a different direction or whatever.
There's not a great history of directors making more than 3 movies in a franchise. Nolan bowed out after Dark Knight Rises. Even like your Sam Mendes James Bond movies.
Yeah, I'm only thinking like maybe Christopher McQuarrie has done more than 3 Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is like few and far
and
between.
often when a director does stick around for more than 3, the quality might start to dip. It's just hard, right? Like and especially when you end on something like No Way Home that's like makes a gajillion dollars and like pretty beloved. Almost anything you come back for might feel like a disappointment, even if that's not deserved.
I'd like to ask him, John, what do you want to do?
Go home.
Okay.
All the way to Australia, Maude.
All the way
Oh,
home.
what?
Oh,
I'm far from home.
There it is. There it is.
fuck!
But I gotta say, I might be on Camp Feige here, right? Like, it feels like the safe, boring bet is the Sony move of like, let's just bring back everybody that made the good movie.
And I don't think John Watts is like a fucking necessarily like, man, we gotta have this guy back, you know?
Well, he's good, and it's hard to argue with his output so far. But again, if his heart's not in it, he probably won't make as good a movie, right?
Yes, but I also think the strongest part of these Spider-Man films have been probably their screenwriting.
Chemistry.
Yeah,
and
great cast.
Good
Yeah.
cast, right?
Great cast.
But like the direction of these movies has never been. If you look at even the Mark Webb movies, people could argue that those are better directed. Everyone sort of loves the web swinging part of that movie. Of course, those Sam Raimi films were very uniquely directed. So I don't know. I think people are just on John Watts because he's like a little bland. But apparently, again, from this Daniel Richman thing, we're going to be hearing they're going to be announcing directors for Spider-Man 5 or Spider-Man 4 and Avengers 5 soon. What was the exact quote?
That is vague AF. You
It's
could
vague as
say
fuck.
anything is soon. I'm having a birthday soon. March 6th, though. Like.
Oh, is that your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, we've talked about this. That's both my mom and my sister's birthday.
Yeah, that's
Same
right.
days.
November 7th?
March 6th.
Oh, but no, that was my
That's
mom's
Maude.
birthday.
That's Maude.
Well
Oh.
done, everyone.
Full circle.
But that's, if I may, I know we're grasping for news here, but I know fluff when I smell one. Damn it. You know what I mean? That's fluff.
It could be fluff. It could be fluff.
getting
We're
a
not
director.
grasping for news today, Maude.
Do you think
Come on.
both of you? Do you
No,
think?
no, no.
have a
I'm
whole
not
folder.
knocking what we are doing as a quality. I am just saying that if this is news, you could say anything is happening soon.
That's
That's true. Because depending on your definition of sin. Well, now here's what I want to point out. We got a Fantastic Four casting confirmation out of the blue around Valentine's Day, not as part of a big event. No Kevin Feige on stage or anything like that.
Not a Comic-Con, not an IGN fan fest, not a nothing.
Right.
Not
And-
even a fucking cast, like, sometimes it's
Coming
like,
out to wave and
here's
smile
4
or
people,
whatever.
they're like on the back lot or whatever,
Yeah.
like, here we
They
are.
didn't even
or
pose
whatever.
for a photo.
Yeah.
They got a little
Just
artist
did a
rendering.
draw.
Yeah.
So, but historically, the last few years, Marvel has saved their big announcements for live events when they can be there and kind of put on a show. So, do you think we get any of this stuff? Do we think we get a director announced for the next Avengers movie? Any of that until either San Diego Comic-Con or D23, 2 weeks apart, late July and early August.
Wow, both of those are soon.
And the timing for both of those might be good because, like, you have to
It's not
imagine.
fluff.
Marvel wants us to be focused on Deadpool and Wolverine right now, right? And then as soon as that comes out, right after that, they can be like, if you like that, you're gonna love what we have coming in the next 5 years or whatever. And we can do kind of a redo of that famous 2022 San Diego Comic-Con where they laid out all these things that are not gonna end up happening.
Remember, we felt so good.
That was otherwise known as an empty promise, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, personally, I hope they space it out so that new Rockstars can feast on one huge piece of Marvel news every week until Deadpool.
Well, and maybe they've learned their lesson from San Diego Con 2022 that it's actually not great to announce things 5 years in advance, knowing that like we don't know who's going to get arrested or fired or whatever in the interim, right? And maybe as part of their reset, right? They might keep things closer to the vest going forward. You never know.
Even more. Like, I understand that there's been some huge things, like, you know, the character that they were banking on is no longer sort of viable with their brand. The fact that we've had a pandemic, the fact that we have had strikes where everything has shut down, like they've been dealing with some big things. And
Zach and I were going over the list this morning, and it is long. Chadwick Boseman passing away, crazy. The strikes, the pandemic, what was the other things that we were saying?
I mean, even just this wasn't unforeseen, but like Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, and Chris Evans are just three of the biggest movie stars in the world are just done playing those characters, right? That's a huge thing to overcome, right? Yeah.
So let's talk about Avengers 5 here in a second. First, we want to do some shouting out and do some thank yous. First things first. Hey, speaking of that great Fantastic Four image that Marvel put out, we have a great Fantastic Four shirt that I don't. Oh, we do have a graphic.
Wow.
Hell yeah!
Like they just
love that
look
shirt.
So attractive.
It's a good group.
There's a lot of handsome on that shirt.
It's a good group. Yeah, I love that shirt so much. I can't wait for mine to come in the mail.
Real quick, what hairstyle do we think Joseph Quinn has as Johnny Storm? Because he's a curly-haired man. I think he was wearing a wig. He was wearing a wig in Stranger Things. I think his natural hair is short and a little curly. Do we think that's his look in Fantastic Four?
Personally, I think that the Venn diagram of Super Saiyan Goku and Johnny Torch is almost a circle, personally. So anything that's just like that.
I like you calling him Johnny Torch.
Johnny Torch, yeah, the Human Torch.
Yeah, no,
Torch.
It actually makes a lot more sense than Johnny
Storm.
Torch makes more sense than Johnny Storm.
I never understood the Storm last name. Whatever. So we've got some great merch. We also have some Breakroom merch coming very soon.
I like the caps.
We also have some
some X-Men 97, some Deadpool.
We also have a secret. We have a secret that we've been keeping from people for a long time. And hopefully that gets announced relatively soon.
Have you guys been talking about it in the Discord?
Maybe next week. We don't have a Discord. Maude, I don't know what you're talking
about. What is it?
Slack.
Yeah. Slack.
We have been talking about it a lot of Slack.
Yeah, that's why I don't know about it.
Yeah.
We also want to shout out our friends at Jelly Bean.
Finally, I can eat some.
Yes.
Without being
Maude, will you slide me some?
Link in the description. Here, John, you can take these. That's our 42.3 ounce container, John. It's missing a few of those ounces because Daddy's been snacking for a little bit, okay? We were streaming a game earlier on Twitch, and I went through a bunch of flavors. Our friends at John's aim of jelly beans is... Whoa!
What is it?
Did we get that? I think it was blocked by the logo.
Another one.
That was bad.
Okay, John sent a laser beam, and Maude caught it like a champ. Okay.
What are you doing? You just want to hit me in the face. I'm starting to figure this out. Okay.
This is going to go bad.
Hank.
Oh, I just got a bubblegum guy. Jelly Bean Planet. They make delicious jelly beans that we eat all the time in the office. We've got shelves of these guys, and we're slowly depleting all of them. Again, this is a 42.5 ounce. This is a nice jug. This is built for a desk, a checkout counter. This would be great at grandma's house. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just, when the grandkids come over, you give them a couple or whatever, or just keep them around for your binge watching snack delights.
I've got an idea. So I don't know if anyone's read this book about getting good habit skills, but someone worked in a sales team and they would move a paperclip into another container every time they made a sales call. You can instead eat a jelly bean.
Whoa.
Productivity goes up.
And then slowly, as you see the 42 ounce container deplete, you've made progress.
That's it.
Everyone go into sales quick.
Free.
Look them up at Easter not too far off. Order your Jelly Bean Planet jelly beans right now and have that Easter basket nice and full. For Passover, I don't know if you eat jelly beans for Passover, but you
don't.
should.
But you know,
could.
a Seder meal with jelly beans, do it. You know.
I don't know if these are kosher, but as long as you're not too orthodox, I bet they're chill. Thank you so much to Jelly Bean Planet for sponsoring the show. Click the link in the description, or just search for them on Amazon. Jelly Bean Planet. Thank you. We're gonna play a little video, I think, at the end of this episode that producer Evan has worked hard on.
Yes.
You're going to want to stick around and watch that. Okay, but there's more headlines, John. I caught him
reading chat.
Okay, sorry.
That's not even like a bad
mean
thing.
to set
But
you
it's
up
just
like
like the guilt, the panic that you had, that was just so good.
We also want to talk about Avengers 5. There's an article that came out this week in the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know if you guys caught this, just sort of about like Marvel's future, how they're looking at things, and kind of where they're going in the next couple of years. I pulled some interesting quotes from that article. Check it out. It's a really good article. It came out on Wednesday if you're still looking for it. If we go back up to the top, I'm going to just go through this whole thing. Great. So, in Fantastic Four news, the studio has hired Eric Pearson to polish the script for that Fantastic Four film. Eric Pearson is sort of like a Marvel in-house guy. He worked on Thor Ragnarok.
Black
he worked
Widow,
on Black Widow.
Agent Carter.
Why'd you say Black Widow?
Because the script on that is not great.
I didn't mind the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
I like Florence Pugh.
But he's like worked on. He also did, I think, the first Godzilla vs Kong script. But he's done almost nothing. Like he also wrote like most of the one-shots
yes.
for Marvel. He's done a lot of Marvel stuff. Yeah.
So that is set to shoot this summer in London, and we can personally confirm that too. I don't know why we would need to.
Wait,
but we can.
You can personally confirm it?
I can.
Have you seen the set? Or what?
I have not. No.
Oh, okay.
It's not
You're
built
just
yet.
personally confirming.
Yep.
This. Okay.
That's big.
Marvel has also hired Joanna Kahlo, who is the showrunner of The Bear.
Hell yeah.
That's
Yes,
doing
chef.
quite well.
And she's being hired to punch up the script for the Thunderbolts. If you're familiar with the team on the Thunderbolts, a lot of those people came from the Netflix show Beef,
Yes.
which Joanna was also a writer on. So she's coming in with some of those guys and doing
she
another
has
polish.
this writer. She has like one of the best prestige TV pedigrees. She worked on Beef, the Steven Yeun, who's no longer on Thunderbolts,
No,
but
yeah,
she
funny.
worked on that show. She
Well, and
worked,
I guess Steven Yeun apparently was the person who kind of brought these Beef people in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
She worked on Beef. She worked on The Bear. She worked on Tuca and Birdie and BoJack Horseman. She's got quite the resume of great television. So
Very exciting.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah.
And we have some, like, I wouldn't call them plot details, but there are some rumors that, like, some big set pieces have been cut. But the most recent rumor is that the script is sort of centering on villains and anti-heroes going on a mission which was supposed to end with their deaths, right? It's a Suicide Squad type of thing. I think we all kind of... always
MCU
felt like...
Don't we-
MCU Side Squad?
Are we some kind of MCU Suicide Squad?
Don't we have Winter Soldier, David Harbour's character?
Yep, Red
Red
Guardian.
Guardian.
Was
Yep.
Florence Pugh?
Yelena Belova.
We got Ghost, Taskmaster. Who am I forgetting?
Bet he worked in the Sales
Agent.
team.
Yep, John Walker.
John Water.
US
John Walker,
agent.
U.S. agent. Yeah, and for sure, Ghost and or Taskmaster are dead, right?
Gone.
There's no way they make it past Act
Fucking
2. Or maybe John Walker too, right? Like, yeah. And is that also? I feel like I get those casts a little confused with the New World Order cast.
I do too.
Because there's a lot of overlap between what kind of is Julia Louis-Dreyfus is probably going to be in both movies, and
There were also new rumors that
Are they-
Harrison Ford's Red Hulk would be in Thunderbolts as well. Bless you, but please don't do it again.
Are they is she having, like, running two different sort of, like, shadow departments that don't know about each
Yeah,
other?
maybe.
Okay.
with the goodies and the baddies, and they're all going to fight each other. Yeah.
One more piece of Marvel writing news. Apparently, the Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 scripts that are being worked on by Michael Waldron have brought on Eric Martin to also help write those scripts. Eric Martin, if you're familiar, showrunner or head writer of Loki season 2,
Wow,
and was on the staff of the first season of Loki. So that
With
kind of
Michael
team
Waldron. Yeah.
of Waldron and Martin seems like they're going to be working together on those Avengers 5 and 6 scripts.
I feel good about that.
It's
Yeah.
good. Good
Also,
news.
there's a great history of television writers making good Avengers movies. McFeely and the other
mean,
guy, and the Russo brothers.
Even Joss Whedon is a TV
vets.
person and made one good Avengers movie and one okay one. So those are the big writing updates for Marvel. I think mostly positive in my opinion. Your opinion on Eric Pearson? Maybe take him or leave him, but the other two are great.
I think something to note here is they're going back to vets.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? Like there was a period there where they were working with a lot of folks who had not done anything at Marvel or not done anything at the scale that Marvel works for a while.
But I mean, legacy directors now, like Taika Waititi, he did smaller films and he crushed Ragnarok, and I think it was like paving the path for that. At the end of the day, though, these are massive budget films that need so much more than sort of like getting a set and making a small film.
Yes.
There's so many different layers of things that you need, including sort of special effects, you know.
Yes, and I mean, I think about like
dealing with
a budget of $200 million. Right?
It's an amount of money I don't understand.
And like the hundreds, you watch those credits scroll, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that work on these films. Can you imagine going from a $10 million little indie? And you know what? It's incredible. You're absolutely right, Maude. When somebody like Taika Waititi, who's made relatively modest films, or Dustin Daniel Cretton, right, who had made, go watch Short Term 12. It's a good movie. I got a young Lakeith Stanfield, a young Brie Larson in it. But it's
and isn't like Riz Ahmed in that movie?
It's the tiniest movie. And then that dude made Shang-Chi, was like his next thing. It's wild that he was able to pull that off, but it's also really hard to pull that off. And I think whether they keep going in that direction with directors, I like that with screenwriters. They're kind of working with people that know the formula and have a track record of success.
Well, it's like here, we're going to give you a season of Loki. It's already been established. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to work well together? And when they knock it out of the park, it's like, okay, now you can put your big boy pants on.
Yes.
You've
It also
earned
feels
it,
good
go.
that, like, you know, if Deadpool and Wolverine is leading up to Incursions and Secret Wars and all that kind of stuff, like, the people who created the TVA feel like the perfect people to go tell those stories, in my opinion. So someone who may not be in those movies is the character of Kang the Conqueror. You know, obviously Marvel dropped Jonathan Majors as an employee a few hours after the conviction happened, and is rewriting those movies. And according to this Hollywood Reporter article, they're either going to minimize the character or get rid of him entirely.
I'd say that to me doesn't make sense. If you've already written it and you thought that John Majors could carry the entire thing, why couldn't someone else? Rehire.
I agree.
Make it a different person.
Though there's a weird backstory, right? That like they made Kang a bigger part of their plans after seeing him in Loki season 1. They're like, wow, this combination of actor and character is so great. Let's build all of our next 3 years around him. And then like, oh, well then the actor's not working out or can't work out or whatever. So like, do you still keep going with the character? That is a tough question. I guess like we also don't know how far along were any of these scripts or any of these plans, right? Just because like a date has been circled on a calendar and we have a logo doesn't mean that anything was that far along, I guess.
Do you want to hear something that makes even less sense?
Yeah,
Oh.
always.
So,
To be fair, everything was making a lot of sense to me so far.
oh, okay. Well, you were saying reduced role would be kind of weird. Well, the thing that's weird to me is they were considering doing this after Quantumania. The poor performance of Quantumania made them kind of go like, ooh, maybe Kang's not the guy, blah, blah, blah. But like my opinion on Quantumania at least is like, Kang's the best part of that movie. His death notwithstanding, but like that was the thing people liked about that film. It's weird for me to think that Marvel looked at that movie and was like, get Kang out of here. I don't know.
But then they doubled down again.
Yeah.
With Loki?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But apparently they were considering reducing Kang's role after Quantumania.
I bet Chat could name 3 actors that could do a suitable job.
Well, and maybe we'll talk about this on Tuesday when we do our headline show, but Coleman Domingo has actually made comments about potentially playing Kang. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
But the brief thing is he basically said, like, me and my reps have been talking to Marvel for a very long time about a bunch of things. I try to not get involved until it's like real. So maybe my reps are taking care of it, but I don't know.
And to be fair,
Is that true? Is that not?
a lot of actors in Hollywood are talking to Marvel at any given time.
Absolutely,
I talk to
especially
Marvel.
especially when
Oh.
it's like, you know, people like Coleman Domingo, who is not a like huge star, but is like a very talented actor and has been in a lot of really terrific smaller films, you know, like Zola, and he was obviously in Euphoria and things like that.
And is he Oscar nominated for Rustin this year?
Oh, is he? I don't know.
I don't know if he got the nomination.
No, I don't
or
think
not.
so, no.
Maybe he got snubbed. Anyways, talented actor.
Yeah, so we'll be back here next week talking about some of those things. We didn't get to stream yesterday. We wanted to, but unfortunately,
Twitch wouldn't let us?
Twitch wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
No, so here's the thing.
Write your congressman.
Evan clearly is not here today. There's like a good-ish reason for that. It's my fault.
What'd you do this time?
I'll show you.
Hello?
Oh, hey, I was just calling. Are we streaming today?
No, why? What's up?
Tom Holland just tweeted that he has a special announcement happening today.
Oh, that sounds pretty big. Man, do I have time to get my special lunch?
Yeah, maybe if you hurry.
It's even got a foldable frame.
Oh yeah, this bad boy goes 19 miles an hour. It's got a 35-mile range. The battery's got a 6-hour charge, and when it gets dark out, a little light automatically comes on the front to keep you safe.
It's all great, but is it fast enough for me to get my special lunch?
Yes, Evan, it's fast enough for you to get your special lunch. Oh yeah, this bad boy goes 19 miles an hour. It's got a 35-mile range. The battery's got a 6-hour charge, and when it gets dark out, a little light automatically comes on the front to keep you safe.
All right, I'm here. I ate my special lunch. I think we're ready to go, but no one's at the studio yet?
Oh my God, so sorry. No, the announcement was a false alarm. It turns out Tom Holland was just announcing that he adopted a dog and named it Tom.
Aw, Tom.
So yeah, I screwed over Evan's special lunch.
Is that Robert De Niro delivering
So yeah.
That is pretty good.
So Evan has requested to take a few days off because he's devastated about his special lunch. So he'll be back at some point next week. Thank you to our friends from HovCity for lending us that beautiful scooter to shoot this video on.
The scooter's a ton of fun. I've ridden it around a little bit.
We thought that Zach was going to break some things in the back studio.
I might have broken a couple things in the studio. But yeah, definitely check out. There'll be a link in the description. Check out their products. They make really fun e-bikes and e-scooters.
Yeah. We've been having a blast ripping around on that thing. That is it for us today, folks. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel on YouTube. Give us a follow here on Twitch, where we do these videos live. And follow Maude at Maude Garrett.
I do
on
book
socials.
club. I do
She's
book
got
club.
a great book club.
Sci-fi fantasy.
What's your book right now?
We just finished Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, which was like a historical fiction in World War I, but instead of warring countries, it's warring gods.
Ooh. But check out Maude on Twitch, where she does her book club. Do you have regular times when you do that?
Usually it's 2 Thursdays of the month between 5 and 7 p.m. PT. But I also stream video games on the off weeks, usually, if I haven't had a concussion and hit my back.
Whoa.
Not gonna work.
Hey, how often does that happen? Follow us.
And come back next week. We will talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yep.
I'll watch
Sunday
it
next
over the
week.
weekend.
Yep, I have a big list of headlines that we're going to get into. The headline show's going to be on Tuesday next week. And
I like it.
Zach's off Twitter. He deleted his Twitter, so don't follow him anywhere.
Fair
That's
enough.
right.
Follow him around this great
Including
city
down the street. If
of
I catch you
Manitoba.
following me down the street, I will.
That's why you gotta get the little zoom.
That's right.
Zip
Get
off.
on a HovCity scooter.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week.
Bingo.
Bye.
Bye.